It was fun.
So this is what, and when we got that first report, this is what we imagined what was going to happen. This is great, man. We got this, and then we're going to go here, and then we're going to go here, because our burn rate was so much lower than what we got. So that's what we imagined was going to happen, and then this is what actually happened. So I've got a little bit more numbers here that show kind of the cash flow and what our burn rate was and what the sales numbers were saying. Okay, so it wasn't quite as magical as maybe that first chart. But one thing to look at here, we didn't even get any money. So the way the App Store works, and if you're not familiar with it, you get a report and it says, hey, this is how much we're going to pay you, and then a month later you get the money, right? So it's not like you get paid when you know how much you've made. It's always delayed. Okay, so we actually got paid. We actually had the money in September, but we'd already burned, remember, through our own savings and everything for this first month because we decided we're quitting because we knew the money was coming, which is also another a risky thing that we did because we were just saying, well, we know the money's coming, right? And that's the classic mistake. The money's coming, and then it doesn't come, and suddenly you have to close the door, and it's all over because it doesn't come. But sales do not equal money in the bank. It's not the same thing because you'll get all kinds of reports that tell you how much you're going to get. And the other thing we learned is that the sales didn't necessarily stay up. September was really good. October it came down. November was not so great. And it's because we were just so busy working on answering people and just fixing the problems or whatever. We didn't ever nurture the apps and look at, well, where should we take them? What should we add to it? How do we add value to these products and make them better for the customers? We were just completely swamped with what we were doing. So that was a lesson we learned as well. The other thing we learned, and I'm going to hurry and tell this, was we had problems with the bank. We went out, we weren't business people, so I just went and found the cheapest bank we could, which was Washington Mutual, which I don't even know if you guys have heard of that because they got bought by Chase. Actually, they went out of business and almost like collapsed, but then Chase bought them. But before all that happened, we were banking there because they gave us a free account. It didn't cost us anything. But the problem was they're this little franchise thing. So every bank was its own franchise. And the way Apple used to do their payments is they would wire the money from every country. So you'd get this nice direct deposit from the U.S., but the U.S. is only about half of the market for the App Store. The rest is all over the world, and the rest gets wired in. So we were getting money wired in from Japan and from Germany and from France, and Washington Mutual could not accept international wires. They just didn't work. And so half of this money that was being reported that we were getting actually never even made it to us for some time. And we didn't actually end up getting it, I think, till February. Because we had to switch banks. I marched in the bank and I said, I want to know how you receive international wires. Because and Apple was so swamped, they would give you one chance a month to fix it. So we'd call them up and we'd be like, okay, we think we got it fixed. And they said, okay, we're going to run the payment. And then the next week they'd run the payment and it would fail because Washington Mutual didn't have something set up. So then we'd call them back and they'd say, well, we'll try again next month. And meanwhile, we're thinking, and how do we pay ourselves because the money's not here? So anyway, I walked into the bank and I said, I want to know how your international wires come in. And they said, well, they finally fessed up and said, well, actually, we can't receive international wires. What happens is we have Wells Fargo receive our international wires, and then they transfer the money to us. And that was all I had to hear. And I said, oh, that's it. And I drained the accounts right there, went over to Wells Fargo, opened a business account, and magically we got all the money from Apple the next month because we went with a real bank. So just a lesson learned. It's not always the best to go with whatever the cheapest or whatever is, and you might end up paying for it. And in our case, fortunately, we made it through.
This is you still.